liberation from the cycle of birth and death, always take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service, becoming purified by executing your allotted occupation just situates the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your heart. And without deviating for a moment, engage always in His service. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The system of Bhakti Yoga described by Queen Suniti to her son is the standard way of God realization. Everyone can continue in his constitutional occupational duties and at the same time keep the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart. This was also instructed by the Lord himself to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Go on fighting, but keep me within your mind. That should be the motto of every honest person seeking perfection in Krishna consciousness. In this connection, Queen Suniti advised her son that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Pritya Vatsala, which indicates that he is very kind to his devotees. She said, "You came to me crying, having been insulted by your stepmother, but I am unable to do any good for you. But Krishna is so kind to his devotees that if you go to him, then the combined kindness of millions of mothers like me will be surpassed by his affectionate and tender dealings. When everyone else fails to mitigate one's misery, Krishna is able to help the devotee." Queen Suniti also stressed that the process of approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not easy, but is sought after by great sages who are very advanced in spiritual realization. Queen Suniti also indicated by her instruction that Dhruva Maharaj was only a small child, 5 years old, and it was not possible for him to purify himself by the way of karma kanda. But by the process of bhakti yoga, even a child less than 5 years old or anyone of any age can be purified. That is the special significance of bhakti yoga. Therefore, she advised him not to accept worship of the demigods or any other process, but simply to take to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the result would be all auspicious. As soon as one places the Supreme Personality of Godhead within one's heart, everything becomes easy and successful. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so that's an important statement. As soon as one places the Supreme Personality of Godhead within one's heart, everything becomes easy and successful. We should take that statement in our hearts and meditate on it and not be in any anxiety, because the Lord is going to take care of us. Okay, we're on Canto 4, Chapter 8, verse number 23. My dear Dhruva, as far as I am concerned, I do not find anyone who can mitigate your distress but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes are like lotus petals. Many demigods, such as Lord Brahma, seek the pleasure of the goddess of fortune. But the goddess of fortune herself, with a lotus flower in her hand, is always ready to render service to the Supreme Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Suniti pointed out herewith that the benediction received from the Supreme Personality Godhead and that received from the demigods are not on an equal level. Foolish persons say that no matter whom one worships, one will get the same result. But actually, that is not a fact. In Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that benedictions received from the demigods are all temporary and are meant for the less intelligent. In other words, because the demigods are all materialistically conditioned souls, although they are situated in very exalted positions, their benedictions cannot be permanent. Permanent benediction is spiritual benediction. Since a spirit soul is eternal, it is also said in Bhagavad Gita that only persons who have lost their intelligence go to worship the demigods. Therefore, Suniti told her son that he should not seek the mercy of the demigods, but should directly approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead to mitigate his misery. Material opulences are controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his different potencies, and specifically the goddess of fortune. Therefore, those who are after material opulences seek the pleasure or mercy of the goddess of fortune. Even the highly placed demigods worship the goddess of fortune. But the goddess of fortune, Mahalakshmi herself, is always seeking the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone, therefore, who takes their worship of the Supreme Lord automatically receives the blessings of the goddess of fortune. At this stage of his life, Dhruva Maharaj was seeking the material opulences, and his mother advised rightly that even for material opulences, it is better to worship not the demigods, but the Supreme Lord. Although a pure devotee does not seek benedictions from the Supreme Lord for material advancement, it is said in Bhagavad Gita that pious persons go to the Lord even for material benedictions. A person who goes to the Supreme Personality Godhead for material gain is gradually purified in association with the Supreme Lord. Thus, he becomes free from all material desires and is elevated to the platform of spiritual life. Unless one is raised to the spiritual platform, it is not possible for him to completely transcend all material contamination. Suniti, the mother of Dhruva, was a far-seeing woman, and therefore she advised her son to worship the Supreme Lord and no one else. The Lord is described herein as lotus-eyed, Padma Palasa Lochana. When a person is fatigued, if he sees a lotus flower, all his fatigue can be immediately reduced to nil. Similarly, when an aggrieved person sees the lotus face of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, immediately all his grief is reduced. A lotus flower is also an insignia in the hand of Lord Vishnu, as well as in the hand of the goddess of fortune. The worshippers of the goddess of fortune and Lord Vishnu together are certainly very opulent in all respects, even in material life. The Lord is sometimes described as Shiva Varinshi Natam, which means that Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma also offer their respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. Haribol. 624. The great sage Maitreya continued. The instruction of Dhruva Maharaj's mother, Suniti, was actually meant for fulfilling his desired objective. Therefore, after deliberate consideration and with intelligence and fixed determination, he left his father's house. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Both the mother and the son were lamenting Dhruva Maharaj's having been insulted by his stepmother and his father's not having taken any step on this issue. But mere lamentation is useless. And it's a very important statement. Mere lamentation is useless. One should find out the means to mitigate one's lamentation. Thus, both mother and son decided to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, because that is the only solution to all material problems. Very important statement. It is indicated in this connection that Dhruva Maharaja left his father's capital city to go to a secluded place to search out the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is the instruction of Prahlada Maharaj also that if one is seeking peace of mind, he should free himself from all contamination of family life and take shelter of the Supreme Godhead by going to the forest. To the Gaudiya Vaishnava, this forest is the forest of Vrinda or Vrindavana. If one takes shelter of Vrindavana under Vrindavaneshwari or Vrindavana, if one takes shelter of Vrindavana under Vrindavaneshwari, Srimati Radharani, certainly all the problems of his life are solved very easily. Srimati Radharani ki jai. Text number 25. The great sage Narada overheard this news, and understanding all the activities of Dhruva Maharaj, he was struck with wonder. He approached Dhruva and touching the boy's head with his all-virtuous hand, he spoke as follows. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When Dhruva Maharaj was talking with his mother, Suniti, of all incidents that had taken place in the palace, Narada was not present. Thus, the question may be raised, how Narada overheard all these topics? The answer is that Narada is Trikala Ya. He is so powerful that he can understand the past, future, and present of everyone's heart, just like the super soul, the supreme personality of Godhead. Therefore, after understanding the strong determination of Dhruva Maharaj, Narada came to help him. It may be explained in this way. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is present in everyone's heart. And as soon as he understands that a living entity is serious about entering devotional service, he sends his representative. In this way, Narada was sent to Dhruva Maharaja. This is explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bija. By the grace of the spiritual master and Krishna, one can enter into devotional service. Because of Dhruva Maharaj's determination, Krishna, the super soul, immediately sent his representative, Narada, to initiate him. Very good. Text 26. How wonderful are the powerful Kshatriyas. They cannot tolerate even a slight infringement upon their prestige. Just imagine, this boy is only a small child, yet harsh words from his stepmother proved unbearable to him. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The qualifications of the Kshatriya are described in Bhagavad Gita. Two important qualifications are to have a sense of prestige and not to flee from the battle. It appears that the Kshatriya blood within the body of Dhruva Maharaj was naturally very active. If the Brahminical Kshatriya or Vaishya culture is maintained in a family, naturally the sons and grandsons inherit the spirit of the particular class. Therefore, according to Vedic system, the samskara or the reformatory system is maintained very rigidly. If one fails to observe the reformatory measures current in the family, one is immediately degraded to a lower standard of life. Okay. So it says basically two important qualifications of the Kshatriyas are to have a sense of prestige and not to flee from battle. Okay. It appears that the Kshatriya blood within the body of Dhruva Maharaj was naturally very active. If the Brahminical, Kshatriya, or Vaishya culture is maintained in a family, naturally the sons and grandsons inherit the spirit of the particular class. Therefore, according to the Vedic system, the samskara or the reformatory system is maintained very rigidly. If one fails to observe the reformatory measures current in the family, one is immediately degraded to a lower standard of life. Well, as far as devotees are concerned, we undergo a process of purification. We have to chant our rounds every day. We have to eat only prasadam. We have to regularly hear and also preach from Srimad Bhagavatam. We have to go on Sankirtan. There's so many things that we have to do as devotees. We're not on the level of Dhruva Maharaj, and but there's an interesting statement here. It says two important qualifications are to have a sense of prestige and not to flee from the battle. So that's a qualification of Kshatriyas. It appears that the Kshatriya blood within the body of Dhruva Maharaja was naturally very active. Okay. If the Brahminical Kshatriya or Vaishya culture is maintained in a family, naturally, the sons and grandsons inherit the spirit of that particular class. Therefore, according to the Vedic system, the samskaras or the reformatory system is maintained very rigidly. If one fails to observe the reformatory measures current in the family, one is immediately degraded to a lower standard of life. Well, that's what's going on today, unfortunately. Yeah, so to become a genuine Kshatriya or a Vaishya requires training. And once one has that training, then they can be really very, let's say, active in maintaining the principles of the Vedic system. So the samskaras are what you would call reformatory actions or system. So we have to and it has to be rigidly maintained. If one fails to observe the reformatory measures current in the family, one is immediately degraded to a lower standard of life. Well, when you join Krishna consciousness, you have to promise no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication, and always chanting at least 16 good rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day. So for us, that is the reformatory system. Previously, there were other ways of, let's say, reformatory activities, but for devotees, this is our system given by the Vaishnava Acharyas to maintain purity in our life so that we do not descend into lower stages of behavior. So it says here, therefore, according to the Vedic system, the samskara, or the reformatory system, is maintained very rigidly. If one fails to observe the reformatory measures current in the family, one is immediately degraded to a lower standard. Well, our reformatory process is promising to follow the regulative principles, no meat, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no, basically, no lying, cheating, and all that stuff. But and our reformatory measure is regularly chanting Hare Krishna every day and following the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness. So if one fails to observe the reformatory measures current in the family, one is immediately degraded to a lower standard of life. It's the same thing if one does not follow the reformatory measures in Krishna consciousness, one is immediately degraded to a lower standard of life. Okay, text 27. The great sage Narada told Dhruva, my dear boy, you are only a little boy whose attachment is to sports and other frivolities. Why are you so affected by words insulting your honor? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Ordinarily, if a child is rebuked as a rascal or fool, he smiles and does not take such insulting words very seriously. Similarly, if words of honor are offered, he does not appreciate them. But in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, the Kshatriya spirit was so strong that he could not tolerate a slight insult from a stepmother, which injured his Kshatriya prestige. Wow. Even such a young boy who has that Kshatriya spirit is manifested even at the earliest age. Text 28, my dear Dhruva, if you feel that your sense of honor has been insulted, you still have no cause for dissatisfaction. This kind of dissatisfaction is another feature of the illusory energy. Every living entity is controlled by his previous actions, and therefore there are different varieties of life for enjoying or suffering. That's a very important statement. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the Vedas, it is said that the living entity is always uncontaminated and unaffected by material association. Oh, really? Let's see what it says here. The living entity gets different types of material bodies because of his previous fruitive actions. If, however, one understands the philosophy that as a living spirit soul, he has an affinity for neither suffering nor enjoyment, then he is considered to be a liberated person. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 1854, Brahmabhuta Prasanatma, when one is actually situated on the transcendental platform, he has nothing for which to lament and nothing for which to hanker. Hanker means strong desire. Narada Rishi, first of all, wanted to impress upon Dhruva Maharaj that he was only a child. He should not have been affected by the words of insult or honor. And if he were so developed as to understand honor and insult, then this understanding should have been applied in his own life. He should have known that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions, and therefore one should not be sorry or happy under all circumstances. Well, yeah, that means that we have to learn to control our minds and our senses and not be in any way uh, controlled by insults or honor. We should be always steady in our practice of Krishna consciousness. So when a mundane person is insulted, they get really angry and they want to take revenge. Therefore, it says, and if he were so developed as to understand honor and insult, then this understanding should have been applied in his own life. He should have known that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. That is a very, very profound statement. The understanding should, so, and if he were so developed as to understand honor and insult, then his understanding should have been applied in his own life. He should have known that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstance. Yeah. Well, if you get, insulted by someone, you should take it as the fact that maybe in a previous life you insulted that person. So you should not be angry. Why? Well, in general, honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. Yeah. So if someone is insulting you, well, it's because you probably insulted them in a previous life. So therefore, you should remain steady in your devotional service and not be disturbed. Why? Because it says, Brahmabhuta Prasanatma. When one is actually situated on the transcendental platform, he has nothing for which to lament and nothing for which to hanker. So lament meaning you lost something, and hanker meaning you want something. So you have to be free of the lamentation and the hankering. Lamentation means you lose something, you lament, and hankering means you want something, and you also lament, or you also, disturbed, let's say, because you have the strong hankering. Hankering is more than simply desire. It means it's disturbed. It's in your mind all the time. You can't get it out of your mind. So Narada Rishi, first of all, wanted to impress upon Dhruva Maharaj that he was only a child. He should not have been affected by words of insult or honor. And if he were so developed as to understand honor and insult, then this understanding should have been applied in his own life. He should have known that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. Okay, well, that means that this is not the first time that we are living in this material world, that we have many births and deaths. Sometimes we're honored, sometimes we're not honored, or we're insulted. So we should remain, let's say, without being influenced by this honor or dishonor. Brahmabhuta Prasanatma, when one is actually situated in the transcendental platform, he has nothing for which to lament and nothing for which to hanker. That is our takeaway right there. Now, of course, if one is not transcendentally situated, one will be affected by lamentation, and one will also have hankering or desiring, very strong desires. Okay. So it's a very interesting statement. It says, Narada, first of all, wanted to impress upon Dhruva Maharaj that he was only a child. He should not have been affected by words of insult or honor. And if he were so developed as to understand honor and insult, then his understanding should have been applied in his own life. He should have known that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. That is a very profound statement. When we learn to not be influenced by honor or dishonor, that means that we have a higher understanding of the purpose of life. Honor or dishonor, or honor and insult. So therefore, a devotee remains steady in his determination to practice the principles of Krishna consciousness, and he is not affected by words of honor, or insult. And if he were so developed as to understand honor and insult, then his understanding should have been applied in his own life. He should have known that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions, and therefore one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. So that means that a devotee has control of his mind and senses. He is, let's say, advanced in spiritual understanding, and therefore is not disturbed by honor or dishonor. He continues in steady execution of devotional service without being disturbed by honor or dishonor. Okay, very important statement. Very important statement. Brahmabhuta Prasanatma. When one is actually situated on the transcendental platform, he has nothing for which to lament and nothing for which to hanker or to desire strongly. So that should be the culture of Krishna conscious devotees. If they are actually situated on a transcendental platform, they have nothing for which to lament and nothing for which to meaning meaning strong material desire. Okay. Text 29. The process of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very wonderful. One who is intelligent should accept that process and be satisfied with whatever comes, favorable or unfavorable, by his, meaning Krishna's, supreme will. Okay, so the Supreme Personality of Godhead has a certain process. So what does that mean exactly? It means that we are all going to be tested to see if we're really determined to serve Krishna or not. Let's see what the purport says. The great sage Narada instructed Dhruva Maharaj that one should be satisfied in all circumstances. Very important statement. The great sage Narada instructed Dhruva Maharaj that one should be satisfied in all circumstances. Everyone who is intelligent should know that because of our concept of bodily existence, we are subjected to suffering and enjoyment. One who is in the transcendental position, beyond the concept of bodily life, is considered to be intelligent. One who is a devotee especially accepts all reverses as gifts of the Supreme Lord. When a devotee is put into distress, he accepts this as God's mercy and offers him repeated obeisances with his body, mind, and intellect. An intelligent person, therefore, should be always satisfied, depending on the mercy of the Lord. Boy, that is real wisdom. That is real wisdom. Let me read that again. The great sage Narada instructed Dhruva Maharaj that one should be satisfied in all circumstances. This is difficult for some people to understand, but a devotee should be satisfied in all circumstances. Everyone who is intelligent should know that because of our concept of bodily existence, we are subjected to suffering and enjoyment. So in both cases, either we're suffering or we're enjoying, we should remain neutral, not be influenced by it. How do you remain neutral? You continue in your devotional service every day without being affected by honor or dishonor. So, and the other main statement here is everyone who is intelligent should know that because of our concept of bodily existence, we are subjected to suffering and enjoyment. Well, the first thing we learn in Krishna consciousness is, I am not this body. So that's something that we have to be reminded of throughout our life, that I am not this body. Because as soon as we identify with the body, Maya catches us and puts us in all kinds of situations. But if you understand, I'm not this body, then there's no way Maya can catch us and put us in different, basically intolerable situations. And that's why it says, one who is in the transcendental position beyond the concept of bodily life, that means eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. That is bodily life, is considered to be intelligent. One who is a devotee especially accepts all reverses as gifts of the Supreme Lord. That should be printed and put up on the wall somewhere. We can look at that every once in a while. And remember, one who is a devotee especially accepts all reverses as gifts of the Supreme Lord. When a devotee is put into distress, he accepts this as God's mercy and offers him repeated obeisances with his body, mind, and intellect. So that whole statement should be put on a plaque on the wall somewhere. In other words, one who is a devotee especially accepts all reverses as gifts of the Supreme Lord. When a devotee is put into distress, he accepts this as God's mercy and offers him repeated obeisances with his body, mind, and intellect. An intelligent person, therefore, should be always satisfied, depending on the mercy of the Lord. This is all real wisdom, real knowledge, real, let's say, uh, real obligation of a devotee to follow these principles. One who's in a transcendental position beyond the concept of bodily life is considered to be intelligent. One who is a devotee especially accepts all reverses as gifts of the Supreme Lord. When a devotee is put into distress, he accepts this as God's mercy and offers him repeated obeisances with his body, mind, and intellect. An intelligent person, therefore, should be always satisfied, depending on the mercy of the Lord. Okay, so we have to write down this what was being said here and put it on the wall somewhere.
So the print should start with one who is a devotee?
Yeah.
Or one more line, one who is in transcendental position.
Okay. Everyone who is intelligent should know that because of our concept of bodily existence, we are subjected to suffering and enjoyment. One who is in the transcendental position, beyond the concept of bodily life, is considered to be intelligent. One who is a devotee especially accepts all reverses as gifts of the Supreme Lord. When a devotee is put into distress, he accepts this as God's mercy and offers him repeated obeisances with his body, mind, and intellect. An intelligent person, therefore, should be always satisfied, depending on the mercy of the Lord. Yes, so I would start from everyone who is intelligent. This is real Krishna conscious wisdom. Prabhupada is giving it to us by his mercy. And the verse also is very important. It says, the process of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very wonderful. One who is intelligent should accept that process and be satisfied with whatever comes, favorable or unfavorable, by the supreme will. I think we should also include that in the statement.
The whole translation.
Yeah.
So we are just okay.
Where are we putting these statements? They're at the temple, right? We're putting them somewhere at the temple.
Yes, we can put in temple. Or you want to just put here or temple?
Yeah, put it in the temple. People should see this. The verse and this purport. Yeah.
So Maharaj, we are just leaving the only first line of purport. So
yeah.
should we include that as well?
No, you can leave it out.
Yeah.
I may as well put it. It's all right because it's Narada Muni instructing Dhruva Maharaj. That way they have the uh, context.
Right.
Good. Okay. So text 30.
Question, Maharaj.
Yes.
So how, like, for a neophyte, it's very difficult to consider this as a gift, like all the verses. Like,
Yeah.
it will be not that devastated like a material person, but still it will be disturbing
Very disturbing. Yeah.
to go through the time.
Yeah.
So what a devotee should do, a neophyte devotee should do at that time, like when the distress is
He
coming.
should double down on following the regulative principles strictly and not be disturbed, knowing well that all situations are fluctuating. So you're going to have times where everything is going wrong, and you'll have times where everything is going right. So you shouldn't be disturbed. You should be steady in your practice of Krishna consciousness. But someone who gets affected by things, when everything is going okay, all right, they understand that. But when everything is going wrong, they give up. So you can understand who is a real devotee when everything is going wrong. They do not get influenced by it. They connect. In fact, they double down on their practice of Krishna consciousness. And that's why it says here, when a devotee is put into distress, he accepts this as God's mercy and offers him repeated obeisances with his body, mind, and intellect. An intelligent person, therefore, should be always satisfied, depending on the mercy of the Lord. That's such a profound statement. When a devotee is put into distress, he accepts this as God's mercy and offers him, meaning Krishna, repeated obeisances. That means he gets more serious about worshiping the Lord with body, mind, and intellect. An intelligent person, therefore, should be always satisfied, depending on the mercy of the Lord. We should never be depending on the mercy of some powerful person or whatever. We should always be depending on the mercy of the Lord. And we should always be satisfied. In other words, sometimes things are going okay, but if you're a real devotee, when things are not going okay, you remain satisfied and steady in your devotional service. In fact, you should become more intensely practicing devotional service. Okay, so text number 30. Now you have decided to undertake the mystic process of meditation under the instruction of your mother, just to achieve the mercy of the Lord. But in my opinion, such austerities are not possible for any ordinary man. It is very difficult to satisfy the supreme personality of Godhead. Well, yeah, the mystic process is difficult, very difficult. But the process of Krishna consciousness is very simple and easy if you have a pure heart. So let's see what it says in the purport. The process of bhakti yoga is simultaneously very difficult and very easy to perform. Interesting statement. So for the sincere devotee, it's easy. And for people who are hesitating, it's very difficult. But anyway, let's see what it says. The process of bhakti yoga is simultaneously very difficult and very easy to perform. Sri Narada Muni, the supreme spiritual master, is testing Dhruva Maharaj to see how determined he is to prosecute devotional service. This is the process of accepting a disciple. That means every disciple of a bona fide guru is going to be tested to see how determined they are to be a disciple. The great sage Narada has come to Dhruva under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead just to initiate him, yet he is testing Dhruva's determination to execute the process. It is a fact, however, that for a sincere person, devotional service is very easy. But for one who is not determined and sincere, this process is very difficult. Wow. What a fantastic statement that is. That's a really big statement. It is a fact, however, that for a sincere person, devotional service is very easy. But for one who is not determined and sincere, this process is very difficult. Wow. Haribol.
The sincerity is stressed, however, that for a sincere person, devotional service is very easy. So,
Now, the main statement here is that Dhruva, under the direction of Supreme Personality of Godhead, just to initiate him. Yet, he is testing Dhruva's determination to execute the process. The great sage Narada has come to Dhruva under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just to initiate him. Yet, he is testing Dhruva's determination to execute the process. It is a fact, however, that for a sincere person, devotional service is very easy. But for one who is not determined and sincere, this process is very difficult. So Narada Muni is going to test Dhruva to see how determined he is to follow Krishna consciousness. And I like the statement Prabhupada makes in this purport. He says, the process of bhakti yoga is simultaneously very difficult and very easy to perform. Sri Narada Muni, the supreme spiritual master, is testing Dhruva Maharaj to see how determined he is to prosecute devotional service. This is the process of accepting a disciple. Yeah, the disciple is going to be tested to see how determined he is to follow Krishna consciousness. The great sage Narada has come to Dhruva under the direction of Supreme Personality Godhead just to initiate him. Yet he is testing Dhruva's determination to execute the process. It is a fact, however, that for a sincere person, devotional service is very easy. But for one who is not determined and sincere, this process is very difficult. That is a very profound statement. It's easy for a person who's sincere in practicing devotional service. But for someone who's not determined and sincere, the process is very difficult. You can see, it all depends on the consciousness of a person and whether they're actually engaged in real devotional service or not. So if they're not, everything seems difficult. If they are completely surrendered, it seems easy. But for one who is not determined and sincere, this process is very difficult. So it says that Narada is testing Dhruva's determination to execute the process. It is a fact, however, that for a sincere person, devotional service is very easy. But for one who is not determined and sincere, this process is very difficult. Wow, that is big, big statements. Haribol. All glories to Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, so I think we will also read a little bit of the next verse, which has no purport. So by the time we read this, it'll be time to stop. Narada Muni continued. After trying this process for many, many births and remaining unattached to material contamination, placing themselves continually in trance and executing many types of austerities, many mystic yogis were unable to find the end of the path of God realization. Very interesting statement, and I'm surprised that there is no purport. So let's read the verse again. Narada Muni continued. After trying this process for many, many births and remaining unattached to material contamination, placing themselves continually in trance and executing many types of austerities, many mystic yogis were unable to find the end of the path of God realization. Wow. I'm going to read the next verse. For this reason, my dear boy, you should not endeavor for this. It will not be successful. It is better that you go home. When you are grown up, by the mercy of the Lord, you will get a chance for these mystic performances. At that time, you may execute this function. Well, you see, that but he's not going to accept this. He's but why? Because he is determined. He has a Kshatriya blood, and he's not going to accept to just be an ordinary young boy and be engaged in frivolous sports and other nonsense things. And he's not going to accept being insulted by someone. He has the Kshatriya blood. And even though he's still a very young boy, he has that determination of a Kshatriya that says, just imagine, this boy is only a small child, yet harsh words from his stepmother proved unbearable to him. And this is the previous verse, verse 26. The qualifications of Kshatriya described in Bhagavad Gita. Two important qualifications are to have a sense of prestige and not to flee from the battle. It appears that the Kshatriya blood within the body of Dhruva Maharaj was naturally very active. If the Brahminical, Kshatriya, or Vaishya culture is maintained in a family, naturally the sons and grandsons inherit the spirit of the particular class. Therefore, according to the Vedic system, the samskara, or the reformatory system, is maintained very rigidly. If one fails to observe the reformatory measures current in the family, one is immediately degraded to a lower standard of life. Well, our reformatory system is following the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness. Okay. So text 28 said, "My dear Dhruva, if you feel that your sense of honor has been insulted, you still have no cause for dissatisfaction. This kind of dissatisfaction is another feature of the illusory energy. Every living entity is controlled by his previous actions, and therefore there are different varieties of life for enjoying or suffering." Very nice verse. In the Vedas, it is said that the living entity is always uncontaminated and unaffected by material association. The living entity gets different types of material bodies because of his previous fruitive actions. If, however, one understands the philosophy that as a living spirit soul, he has an affinity for neither suffering nor enjoyment. In other words, is not affected by suffering or enjoyment. Then he is considered to be a liberated person. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 1854, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. When one is actually situated on a transcendental platform, he has nothing for which to lament and nothing for which to hanker. Narada Rishi, first of all, wanted to impress upon Dhruva Maharaj that he was only a child. He should not have been affected by words of insult or honor. And if he were so developed as to understand honor and insult, then this understanding should have been applied in his own life. He should have known that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous action. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. Wow. So, on the one hand, if he's a child, he should not be affected by the words of insult or honor. And on the other hand, if he is more developed and to understand honor and insult, then this understanding should be applied in his own life. He should have known that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under all circumstances. So, if he's a child, then he should not be affected. And if he is affected, so now he's acting like an adult, then he should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances if he's actually a devotee. That's very profound statements here because what is he exactly? Is he on the level of a child? Well, then if he's insulted, it shouldn't trouble him. And if he is insulted, then he should know how to control his mind and senses and not be disturbed. And if he were so developed as to understand honor and insult, then this understanding should have been applied in his own life. He should have known that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. Haribol. So if you're a little kid, you're not going to be disturbed by being insulted. But if you're a little kid, but still you feel insulted, then you should know that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. That is real knowledge. That is real education. So Brahmabhuta Prasanatma Nasochati na kankshati samaksarve subhute su mad bhaktim labhate param. A devotee is Brahmabhuta Prasanatma. He has nothing for which to lament and nothing for which to hanker. That's the let's say mature devotee. He's Brahmabhuta Prasanatma. He's situated in a transcendental platform. He has nothing for which to lament and nothing for which to hanker. Yes, so as far as Dhruva Maharaj is concerned, uh, Narada Muni, first of all, wanted to impress upon Dhruva Maharaj that he was only a child. He should not have been affected by words of insult or honor. And if he were so developed as to understand honor and insult, then this understanding should have been applied in his own life. He should have known that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. Wow, profound statement. So, a devotee is steady. He remains neutral. He doesn't want to retaliate. No badla. Right?
Revenge.
Yeah, no revenge.
Mostly Maharaj people are, majority of people, they are stuck into that.
I know.
And some people I have seen, like at the end of their near life, then they try to forgive whatever they were holding.
Right. Well, that's pretty late, though.
Especially,
yeah.
Especially within like very close relatives.
Yeah. He should have known that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. Wow. One should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. Haribol. So this honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions, meaning karma. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. Yeah. Because now, as a devotee, you should be karma free. So you shouldn't be disturbed by honor or dishonor. You should be very situated in devotional service. So you're not affected by these things. The honor and dishonor are from previous lives or this lives, karma. But now, as a devotee, you should be steady in your devotional service and not be influenced by honor and dishonor. Okay, very good. Now, this is a very important takeaway. Narada Muni, first of all, wanted to impress upon Dhruva Maharaj that he was only a child. he should not have been affected by words of insult or honor. And if he were so developed as to understand honor and insult, then this understanding should have been applied in his own life. He should have known that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. Yeah, it might be that we insulted someone in a previous life, and now they're insulting us in the present life. Well, we should understand that this is just a karmic reaction and not be disturbed by it. We should continue in our devotional service. Yeah, he should have known that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions, karma. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. Yeah, one should now become karma free by being engaged in devotional service. And if there are reactions, that's from our previous behavior. Therefore, we have to rehabilitate ourselves by remaining steady in devotional service and not being disturbed. Okay, I think we'll stop right there. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. You should learn today that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. Yeah, so if we're insulted or if we're honored, we should remain very stoic. Even in ancient times, there was stoicism. Look that up, stoicism. In Rome, in Greece first, and then in Rome. The Stoics were people who learned not to be disturbed by any situation. There was a whole movement in Rome, Stoicism. What does it say?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes.
Stoic means calm, emotionless.
Yeah, not disturbed.
Accepting of whatever happens.
Right. It was practiced in ancient times by the Greeks and the Romans.
Stoicism flourished throughout the Roman and Greek world until the 3rd century CE, and among its adherents was Roman Emperor Marcus
Aurelius.
It experienced a decline after Christianity became the state religion in the 4th century CE. Since then, it has seen rivals, notably in the Renaissance, Notism, and in the contemporary era, modern Stoicism.
You want to read that again?
The whole thing, what I read?
Yeah.
Stoicism flourished throughout the Roman and Greek world until the 3rd century CE.
After death of Jesus.
And among its adherents was Roman Emperor Marcus
Aurelius.
It experienced a decline after Christianity became the state religion in the 4th century CE. Since then, it has seen rivals, notably in the Renaissance, Noisism, I cannot pronounce, and in the contemporary era. So shall I read more about it?
Okay, in other words, Stoicism means you're not disturbed by what happens, right? So that was, practiced in ancient Rome, in Rome, in Greece and Rome previously. But when Christianity came, it sort of was not followed that much anymore. But when Jesus says, if someone hits you in your face, let's say on your right side, you should give your other cheek and let them hit the other side also. So that's probably a type of stoicism that you're not disturbed by any insult. You remain steady in your conviction to follow, your values. In the case of devotees, whether they're successful or not successful in preaching, they maintain their regular, let's say, culture of practicing Krishna consciousness without being disturbed, knowing very well that one remains steady in all situations if they are actually let's say, a knowledgeable devotee, knowing very well that there's going to be ups and downs in the material world, and one should not be disturbed by them. One should continue in devotional service without any hiatus, without giving up, and without any, let's say, stoppage of their determination to follow the regulative principles.
There is one more definition. It says Stoicism is an ancient Greek and Roman philosophy that encourages a simple life by setting aside strong emotions and passions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They emphasized living in accordance with nature, cultivating wisdom, and practicing virtue.
Well, that's what we do as devotees. But it's not an impersonal thing, it's personal. It's that definition that you just read is impersonal. Impersonal is that we always are cognizant of the presence of Krishna. Therefore, our behavior should always be on the best. We should always be under our best behavior, knowing well that Krishna is the witness of everything that we're doing. Okay, so I think we'll stop right there. Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Maha Mantra ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So our takeaway is Narada Rishi, first of all, wanted to impress upon Dhruva Maharaj that he was only a child. He should not have been affected by words of insult or honor. And if he were so developed as to understand honor and insult, then this understanding should have been applied in his own life. He should have known that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. In other words, one should always remain neutral in all situations. So, if he's was a child, he should not have been affected by words of insult or honor. And if he were more developed to understand honor and insult, then this understanding should have applied in his own life, and he should never have known that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions or karma. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. So, is he going to act like a child, or is he going to act like an adult? So, if he acts like a child, then there's no reason for him to be affected by the words of insult or honor. And if he's going to act like an adult, then he should understand that his situation is determined by his previous karma. So he should accept that karmic reaction and not be disturbed and continue with full, let's say, vigor in practicing the principles of Krishna consciousness. Okay, this is all wisdom. Very, very important wisdom. You want to have wisdom, you have to read Srimad Bhagavatam on a daily basis. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Haribol. So in ancient Greece and Rome, they practiced Stoicism. You read that. That means you're not disturbed by what happens. You're stoic. You learn to tolerate. Now that is not exactly Krishna consciousness, because in Krishna consciousness, we're conscious of Krishna. But because we're conscious of Krishna, we can tolerate any situation that comes up, and we're not disturbed. But it's different than Stoicism. Stoicism is artificially controlling the mind and senses. Krishna consciousness, we are able to control the mind and senses because we are always conscious of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In ancient Rome, they were not talking about Krishna.
Mm. So basically their philosophy is minus Krishna.
Yes. Yeah.
But trying to achieve at least some mode of goodness.
Yes.
Lifestyle.
Yes.
Without Krishna.
Doesn't work very well.
It will be
Hare
difficult.
Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances all to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, I have a quick question. When we get dishonor, a lot of people talk about it, and talk about it, and they don't talk to you, but it's a complete cold. On the contrary, yesterday I experienced when I became famous, a lot of people walked out and congratulated, and they are giving a lot of of course it's in the material sense, but my question is then, when I faced a situation of dishonor without actually doing the acts, people were cold and they did not talk, but they talked about me. They were like, they gossiped about. the person whom they're giving the dishonor. But when when you become famous and when you do something right, then they come to you and they flock around you. So I understand that we have to be stable and we have to be calm and equipoised. So my question is, uh, like, definitely right, we give it to our spiritual mentor or our gurus, right? But in the, like, in the material sense, I could always pass it on to my mentor, that, and for everything happens, we pass it on to Krishna and our guru. But my question is, how do you handle yourself? Because people are talking about you behind your back, or people are coming to you and congratulating you. So these are two very extreme conditions, and somehow I faced both of them. So I just want to understand, how do we handle, because how do you connect back to those people? How do you connect back to those whom they have talked about? And I know, because everybody is connected to Krishna. So little bit, if you can explain.
Well, if you're chanting Hare Krishna every day and also hearing lectures and following the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness, it's like a drop of rain that falls on a leaf. What happens? The leaf doesn't get wet, and the rain drop falls off the leaf. So you should not be disturbed by what people say or do. You should be completely steady in Krishna consciousness and not spend any time thinking about revenge or thinking about why did they do this, and I don't deserve this, and so forth. You should accept whatever is happening as the mercy of the Lord and decide to become even more steady and more, let's say, strictly following Krishna consciousness. Because if these type of things are happening, it's because of previous karma. So the more you become strict in your practice of Krishna consciousness, the more you're purifying your previous karma. So the solution, based on knowledge, is to remain steady in Krishna consciousness, and eventually all problems will go away. But if you are always disturbed, that means that you have no control over your mind and your senses. And your previous karma is going to affect you very seriously. What is previous karma? It's things that you have done previously in your life, either good or bad. And now you're getting the result of it in the present. But as a devotee, you're engaging in devotional service sincerely. So your karma is put on hold, because if it's not put on hold, you would not be able to perform devotional service. And if you remain steady in devotional service, then your previous karma goes away. But if you're not steady in devotional service, then every time you slacken your determination to wake up early, to chant your rounds, to follow all the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness, your previous karma comes back. So that's why bad things happen to good people. That is, someone might be a good person, but not steady in their practices of Krishna consciousness. Okay? So one time, Prabhupada asked devotees, he said, "Are you happy?" So most of the devotees didn't say anything, but there was one devotee that made a face saying, indicating Prabhupada that he wasn't happy. And then Prabhupada said, "But you must be happy." And then that one devotee still had a dour face, meaning shaking his head and looking like he was not happy. So Prabhupada said, then there must be some discrepancy in your practice of Krishna consciousness. That's why you're not happy. So you can tell if someone is happy, that means they're following Krishna consciousness. If they're not happy, then there's some discrepancy in their following of Krishna consciousness. Because if you're following Krishna consciousness, you have to be happy. So that's the litmus test. Are you happy? And someone would say, well, I'm happy, because I'm having lucid sex and this and that. But that's not happiness. That's sinfulness. But real happiness is you're free of all sinful activities. And therefore, you're invigorated. You have a lot of energy for practicing Krishna consciousness without any flaws. That's real happiness. Now, other people who are engaged in sense gratification, they'll say, well, I'm very happy. But their happiness is like stop and go. There are periods where they're happy and there's periods when they're suffering. Right? But for a devotee, in all situations, he's happy because he's Krishna conscious. He knows that Krishna is the Supreme Personality Godhead, and nothing can happen without the mercy, without the will of the Lord. So he accepts all situations as the mercy of the Lord and continues steadily in his devotional service. He's not stop and go. He's all go in Krishna consciousness. But the materialists, they're stop and go. When things are going all right, they'll chant maybe Hare Krishna a little bit. And when things are not going all right, they'll stop chanting Hare Krishna and start complaining and basically condemning Krishna consciousness. Oh, I was praying so much that my friend should not die, but my friend died. Therefore, I'm not going to pray anymore. That's a wrong attitude. A real devotee accepts everything that happens as the mercy of the Lord. Okay, well, we'll stop right there. And no more lamentation and hankering. Simply practice Krishna consciousness. Then you'll always be happy. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Have a very good day today. And be happy. If you're not happy, that means there's some discrepancy in your practice of Krishna consciousness. If you're happy, that means you're following everything nicely.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I have one question.
Yes.
If this lecture you were saying something about you should not get disturbed or get angry if somebody insults you.
Yes.
What if they insult Krishna? Then do you have the right to get angry?
Well, you have three choices. One is you get angry and you cut out the tongue of that person. Another is that you walk away and disregard that person. So those are the two main choices. So I don't think you want to get really angry and cut out the tongue of that person. You'll be you'll be arrested by the police and go to jail. So you can walk away. Or if you're an advanced devotee, you will be able to convince that person to stop insulting Krishna. So there's three things. One is you walk away. The other is you fight with that person or kill them. And the other way, number three, is you're strong enough to convince them by Krishna conscious knowledge to stop acting that way. So you have three choices. Either you walk away, either you commit suicide, or you are strong enough to convince that person to stop blaspheming the Lord. So the best solution is to be strong enough to convince that person through knowledge to give up their, let's say, improper behavior. If you can't do that, then the next thing is walk away and don't associate with such people. There is the extreme alternative of committing suicide, but that shouldn't happen because Krishna, your body does not belong to you; it belongs to Krishna. Therefore, Krishna has the opportunity to serve through your body. So therefore, your body doesn't belong to you, it belongs to Krishna. So we don't have the right to destroy the body. Therefore, we have to take care of the body and the mind so that we can be always engaged in devotional service. If we try and destroy the body, that means that we're ignorant of the presence of Krishna and that we're doing something very sinful. So the best solution to all the problems of life is to regularly chant your rounds, good rounds, not watching television or not putting your mind somewhere else, and always be engaged in devotional service and in the association of good devotees who are actually following the regulative principles. Now you'll be happy all the time because you are in the right association and performing the right activity, Krishna consciousness, and learning something new every day by hearing the Shastras. That should make you happy. So today's takeaway is the following. That is that Dhruva Maharaj was only a child. He should not have been affected by words of insult or honor. And if he were so developed as to understand honor and insult, then this understanding should have been applied in his own life. He should have known that honor and dishonor are both destined only by one's previous actions. Therefore, one should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances. That is very profound Krishna conscious philosophy. You should actually, print this and put it on the wall so you can look at it every day and remember that there's no reason to be sorry or happy if you are actually engaged in devotional service. There's no reason to be sorry or happy. You are full of Krishna conscious thoughts and not thoughts of, let's say, defeat, and not thoughts of success. You remain steady in your devotional service. Like, if you look at football, in a football stadium, usually one side wins and one side loses. So the side that wins, they all celebrate. They're jumping up and down and celebrating. And the side that loses, they're not celebrating. They don't feel good about it. So that's not Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means that in all situations, you remain steady in following the rules and regulations, and you're not disturbed by whatever happens. So the people that lost in that football game, they're upset. And the people that won, they're very, very happy. But that happiness is what? It's temporary, because the next game, they can lose. And then another side will win. So that's up and down, up and down. But devotee is steady in his determination to follow Krishna consciousness in all situations. So he's always theoretically happy because he's not influenced by what is happening in the material world. He's always thinking of Krishna and engaging in devotional service. Whereas for the karmis, sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're miserable. They're going up and down, depending on whatever is happening around them. But the devotee is not disturbed by what's happening around them. They're steady in their devotional service. So let's say tomorrow there's war going on. So the devotee does not stop chanting, does not stop worshiping the deity, does not stop eating only prasadam. So whether there's war or there's no war, whether there's success or no success, the devotee remains steady in the determination to follow the rules and regulations and to always engage in Krishna conscious activities. Whereas other people get disturbed and they become frustrated or angry and think that it's the end of the world and so forth. But the devotee always sees the sunshine. He doesn't see the darkness in things. Like, for example, when there was there was an attack on the United States, and everybody got really, scared. But the devotees, they came to the temple and they chanted Hare Krishna. They danced happily in the temple. And they were not affected by what happened in the news. And they were, steady in their devotional service. So whether everything is going all right or whether everything is going wrong, the devotee is not affected by it. He continues in steady devotional service. That's the proof of a real devotee. And the neophyte devotee, he gets confused and scared and has doubts. The genuine devotee doubles down on his faith in Krishna and remains faithful to following the regulative principles and performing devotional service. He doesn't stop because there might be some tragic things that happen. Okay.
Should we disconnect?